everyone, Flapjackpants here. Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Play series. In between episodes, I've done a lot of work on our Nether Rail project. In between episodes, I've also done the south to the east line. Now, of course, all of these lines, they're very barren, they're very bare bones, but the redstone is there and it is working. So the first thing I want to do in today's episode is kill this hoglin, but also I want to kind of decorate all of these lines with actual blocks so that, you know, there's something in between us and the mobs. Cue the montage. Alright guys, getting this far took a lot longer than expected, and if you can tell, I am unfortunately a little bit sick. But I'd love to show you guys around the tunnels that I've built here. We're heading down the west tunnel right now. See, these main highways going down the coordinate axes I've made all pretty uniform. So the north and west lines are both red, and then the east to south lines are all blue and pink. So I've kind of picked out some color schemes here so we know just from a glance which line we're in. And there's some holes here leading to the actual portals themselves. And I figured it would only be appropriate to design each one custom fit for the portal. So for example, this is the Guardian farm. And so I thought it would be fitting if we designed the tunnel leading up to it to be in Prismarine, for example. And so for that reason, yes, technically we're not fully done. So that's a little bit annoying, but I'll get to that in this episode. I think in general, the east to south lines are a lot shorter, but I also think the color scheme, you know, the blocks are a little bit more expensive, so it kind of balances out. But there's just something really ethereal about riding down these nether tunnels. You know, everything is so uniform. Sometimes there's windows to the outside. Most of the time there is not. There's something almost liminal about it, if you want to use that internet vocab there. There's just something really, really special, especially down the north line, I find. Because this is the longest, it goes to the gold farm. There's long stretches of just straight nothing. It almost feels like you're driving down a highway tunnel, like in real life. There's just something kind of ethereal. It's almost hypnotizing a little bit. And of course, that reminds me that we still have to do the actual line to the gold farm itself. This is going to be extraordinarily painful. You know, I think it would have been faster to just build a new gold farm closer to 0, Like, there's nothing about gold farms that says you have to make them this far away. I don't even remember why I did that. It's just the one that we have right here. It's above the nether ceiling. It's just, I just felt like that was the most important thing to connect to the nether hub. And here we are 3 or 4 months later, still working on the same project. So yeah, I guess that's just how things are sometimes. But yeah, as you saw in the time lapse, something that I've found myself doing, especially in stretches of the open nether here, is fighting ghasts with only my axe. It's almost like a sport, really. You have to, you know, manage your altitude, your fireworks, and you also have to keep yourself in close enough contact with the ghast. And I think it's super satisfying to get these kills and you know, get a lot of gas tiers too. So if we ever want to fight the Ender Dragon again, we can do that. Now, I have rarely fought ghasts before this project, but if we look in the stats right now, G for ghast, I've killed 157 of them. Maybe that number was like 12 before starting this project, so hopefully that gives you a sense of how long this has been going. But yeah, without any more to do, I guess it's time to bite the bullet and start working on some of these custom tunnels. Alright guys, we are fully finished up with our west line here of the Nether Hub, which feels kind of crazy given how long we've been working on everything. As you can see, the first thing I want to point out is that I've created some distinctive flags here, not only for the line itself, which is this one, but also for each individual stop. This flag, the black and the red is just kind of the color scheme of the line, and the cross represents the line itself and the way that it intersects perpendicularly with some of the smaller stops. Speaking of which, the first one here is the new city stop. This is just the flag of our kingdom with a red triangle to represent the Nether. This one I'm not super proud of. It's a little bit messy, I think, all things considered, but it's very similar to the interior of our castle, which is kind of what I was going for here. I tried to make kind of like a very subtle gradient here in the walls, going from a darker deep slate brick into normal stone brick, but I don't know if that turned out super well. The banners are also a little bit, I don't know, like colorless compared to the background, so I think that overall contributes not super well, but it is functional and it does work. So all things considered, this is okay. Now if we just jump over here, the next one over is the Prismarine farm. This is actually not at all like what the Prismarine farm looks like, but I just thought I'd use some Prismarine itself. That's the only fitting block here, and everything else just kind of came naturally. The sandstone complements pretty well with the Prismarine colors, and so do these cactus flowers. The flag I've used here is the flag of our kingdom, the flag that's actually waving at the Guardian farm itself, but the blue and the orange here in the middle represent the guardians that are being killed. And by the way, the reason these flags are on the actual main line here are so that when you're when you're riding down in a minecart or especially in a boat, you can kind of see from a little bit of a distance when you might want to turn into the stop. So if we actually ride the line down here, you can see that eventually we reach the Christmas village. Here the flag is supposed to look kind of like a present here, and I think this is probably one of my favorite flags that we've made so far. I think this one sums up the village pretty nicely, but the stop itself is one of the ones that I like more. There's a lot of mud brick that I've used here, but also there's these wreaths here, and the candles just add that little je ne sais quoi. It provides a homely feeling riding in. And of course, all of these stops are standardized here with how the actual rail layout is. So I have blocked off just enough redstone so that there's still enough room to access the lectern, and you can actually go to your stops. But yeah, with the entire west line done, this is probably the line that we use the most. I want to tackle the south and east lines. There's about 4 stops in total between them, and yeah, let's get started on that. Guys, that is the entire east and south line all finished with the flags and everything. First and foremost, I think I want to mention the line flag here for the east and south line. It's very much based off of the west to north line, and I like this quite a lot. I think it represents the color scheme of this line very well. If we just head down here in the south, you can see our first stop here is the slime farm, and I have to say, this I think is my favorite stop in the entire network. It's just so detailed here with all of the candles and the slime hanging off the ceiling, and it's just such a cool feeling here coming through to get to the portal and everything. Once again, it's pretty reflective, all things considered, of the slime farm project, and I think this is definitely going to be the thumbnail. I can't lie. This is such a cool view, just coming through here with the particles and everything from the Crimson Forest. It's perfect. Now, what is less perfect, in my opinion, is the mansion project. This is just, I kind of just threw it together. It is based off of the mansion itself. Like, as you can see, if we just get to the outside of the mansion, or even just the inside, you can tell we have kind of very much the same idea going on here. It's spruce, it's granite and brick, and it's quartz. I don't know if it's like the shape of the stop or like the plants I have here, the wheat growing. It's a little bit unsightly in my opinion, but I mean, once again, it works, and I think it represents the stop pretty well, so we're going to keep it like that for now. But again, if you guys have any ideas for any of these stops in the future, then be sure to drop a comment down below and I will look at them. We can talk about the old city stop. This is also actually the stop for my starter base here. I actually went with this kind of Templar cross, which is not really related very much to the actual stop. But the design for it is kind of inspired by the fact that here in my starter base, there's kind of like part of the nether like leaking out. I've always quite liked this. God, the sheep are okay. There were not this many the last time I remember. But yeah, as you can see, the design of the stop itself is very much based on the room there in the starter base, and I think it overall adds together pretty well. I've positioned the fire just high enough so that it doesn't melt the ice under the rails, but it produces this really nice effect coming through here. And the last stop here in the east-south line is to the end portal. And as you can see here, I actually quite like this design as well. It's very simple. It uses end city color scheme here, and this carpet is part of the actual portal that we have set up on the end side. I was inspired by some vaporwave album covers. You know, really adds to that once again, that liminal feeling. Oh, bro. This is one of the cooler ones to like boat down, because at this angle you can really see the colors on the sides. Oh, they flash really dramatically. I hope that all of these time lapses haven't gotten too boring yet, because guys, we still have one more line to finish. The last one, the big one, before we can finally call this project finished, and that is the gold farm line. Oh my goodness, 700 straight blocks of pain. This is almost as long as the entire east-south line, but it's the last thing, the last roadblock we have to get through before we can call this project finished. Without any further ado, guys, let's get started. This away, this away, this away, this away. Lord, I can't go back home this away. If you miss the train I'm on, you will know that I am gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Not exactly 500 miles, but it kind of feels like it. You know, despite taking up about the same amount of time as the rest of this episode put together to make, there's actually not really much that I think needs to be said about the gold farm line here. I've used gold a lot for the sides. That's why my XP was so high earlier in the episode. I did die, by the way. I die a lot in these episodes, but in particular building this line I died twice, and so I lost all my levels, but thankfully I still have all my gear and all of the building materials. As you can see, for most of the line I have torch flowers here, but I kind of like vastly overestimated the amount of torch flowers I have, so I only have them on the right side, and they only make it roughly halfway in terms of the total torch flowers that we need. So at some later point we're going to need to come back here with finished torch flowers. Something I'd like to point out here is that I've used resin stairs right here, where, you know, normally I would like there to have been magma stairs, but that doesn't exist in the game currently. Yeah, and as you can see here, for some sections of the wall, I'm using bamboo because I think it mixes very well with the gold here, especially here with some of the older textures on. I don't think it works as well with the newer textures. Let's just see what this looks like. Actually, that's about roughly as good. The bamboo is like slightly greenish, and the older gold texture is also more green, but I think all things considered, it still works pretty well no matter what. And of course, all of that is roughly based on the color scheme of the gold farm itself. I believe we built this in episode 2. But it's just, yeah, the same idea. Blackstone, magma, gold. In hindsight, I don't really like how this gold farm is just kind of one singular construction in the middle of nowhere here in the nether ceiling. I don't think I want to build on another ceiling anymore for this reason, but you know, we could always come back here and improve it in the future. Maybe add some more to the bottom here that's actually below the nether ceiling. Yeah, like as you can see, the only thing that's here is just the scaffolding, and then it leads it right into the rail line itself. It's a little bit barren as of now, but that is pretty much the entire nether hub, fully complete for the most part. I mean, there's still the torch flowers once again, but like, I think we can call this project complete. When we get those torch flowers, we'll put them in later. But you know what? Having finished that project, there is still one thing that I want to do in today's episode. As you saw in the montage, I've actually put in this building the actual torch flower farm itself, and I've also included support for pitcher plants. This, of course, is the building that holds half of the tree farm. I think we made this a few months ago, but it was just sitting empty. Now, unfortunately, we don't have that many plants to test with, but just for example, with the pitcher pod, this is kind of unique because it's like a manual kind of design, but basically I just have to stand here and then actually bone meal the plants, and then I have a little system in the back that's timed so that it's like perfect for the amount of bone mealing that we actually have to do for the plants. That's how I got my torch flowers here. But as you can see here, the interior is very much not finished. And so without any further ado, let's polish up this interior and finish up this building. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that montage as much as I enjoyed putting it together, because despite what I said, the building is not fully complete. Only the bottom floor and the top floor are, but I'll talk about that in a second. So this is the main area of the actual building, and I really like how this room came together. This is the one directly on the street level. As you can see, we have the torch flower set up right here, but I've also added another farm, and that's for firefly bushes, and short and tall dry grass. Basically how this works is we just turn this on, and eventually when these dispensers all fill up with bone meal, we're going to basically have like a constant stream of bushes or firefly bushes. And then of course they all get piped over here into this barrel. This is going to be like a slightly overkill but very efficient way to get all of these plants. I've updated to the latest update, so I have shelves and a copper golem working inside the farm. And let me just say, I am addicted to these shelves. These are such good blocks. You know, mark my words, guys, but I think this is the biggest change in building since they added the different types of trapdoors in like 1.13. This is the next biggest thing because it's so good. Like almost everywhere you would have previously used like a vertical trapdoor, a shelf is it's just better. Like the texture is better. It like juts out in places, so it's not totally straight. It's such a good block. I've even started updating old builds with them. Like I put shelves here at the top of this little window area to give it a little bit more depth and 3D-ness to it. And it's so good for things like this. Back to this building, I think another thing worth mentioning down here in the ground floor is this rug I've put here. I've used these new leaf litter blocks to create this kind of fuzzy edge around the rug. I was inspired by BOO to do this, but I've also put some like traditional rugs, how we would normally make them here as well. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with how this first room came together. I like the change in elevation. The detailing is pretty good, all things considered, and yeah, this is a really nice addition to our city. But moving up here to the second floor, this is the one that's not finished yet because the farm itself juts out really far past where the exterior is actually finished. And so this is where you can see our little clanker down here working, putting the bone meal into all of the chests to supply the dispensers down below. And this is probably a little bit overkill for the setup that we have, but I have an automatic crafter here. So these are bone blocks right here, and they're getting crafted into bone meal automatically for this guy to put into the chests. And yeah, it's going to be super cool to see this guy working down here, keeping everything stocked up. In a later episode, we're going to have to fully finish this by enclosing this in a proper exterior here, but for now it's just kind of out in the open like this. And if we head up here to the attic, there's something really magical going on right here. So first I want to talk about this little area. This is just something I quickly put together. This like a little bedroom. I'm not super happy with everything. There's a lot more detail I could fit in here, but you know, it's just we're really constrained because the tree farm is right below here, so there's crying obsidian everywhere, and it's just it's not a very good situation we have for a bedroom, but that is good enough. Again, using a ton of shelves everywhere. I think I'm gonna be using it everywhere from now on. But yeah, I've used kind of floating candles here to really show the magic coming out of this enchanting table. I think this is a really cool vibe, especially when you can see the moon rising out of that window, which I don't know what time of day it is. Yeah, it's pretty early still, but eventually you can see the moon rising out of that window, and it's just such a cool feeling. We got a little fireplace here, not much to be said, but yeah, so I think, you know, despite this attic being pretty difficult to work with, you know, it's a pretty big area, but despite that, we don't really have very much to put inside of it. I think overall I managed to work with it pretty well. And of course, we're also constrained by the fact that the tree farm is literally right there. The TNT drops from that dispenser. You know, yeah, with the constraints that we had to work with, I think this came together pretty well overall. All right, guys, we've reached that time of the episode once again for the comment of the day. This one's from Lucid Falls SMP, and they said, "I love the detail in your world. Nice job. We are looking for a SMP for creators. If you like modded, let me know." Thank you so much, Lucid Falls SMP. I just have a couple of comments similar to this asking me to join SMPs, and you know, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you so much. It really means a lot to me that you consider my content good enough to be in an actual SMP, but unfortunately, as of now, as I said a couple of episodes ago, being in college, the free time just kind of isn't really there. This world is like all that I have free time for. Like literally, I don't play any other games right now. I just only focus on making these videos when I have time, and even then, as you can tell, the upload frequency is really not there. So unfortunately, if I were to join an SMP, I'm pretty much worried that I'm not going to be able to play very much, if at all. And so for that reason, unfortunately, I cannot accept any offers into SMPs. But again, thank you so much for the offer. I'm going to sign this book. Comment of the day, episode 24. And this is going to go into our bookshelf right here. If you guys want to have your comments featured, just leave them down below in the comment section. I read every single one, and I'll pick out one every couple of episodes that I think really stands out, and I'll read it in the next episode. Well, with that being said, that's all that we have time for today, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, then be sure to like and subscribe, watch my other videos, and hit that new hype button. What's that all about? You should hit the hype button. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow. 100 miles. You can hear the whistle